The funny thing is that it crashed, but thank God. Way to be ready. Way to be ready, Phil. Hello, my fellow vapors, and hello, fellow smokers. Thank you for joining us for another episode of this Smoker Show. This is number 14. You think I'd get it right by now?
It is. It is number 14. You didn't ask me what episode it was this time, so
no, because I went into your YouTube channel and I saw what our last episode was, and then that way I planned it up for number 13.
Why? How come I can't see?
Oh, you can't see me. Yes, yes.
Oh
I can fix that. I can fix that. I just forgot to start it. Don't get all. You know. There we go. Now you can see me, right? Well, you can see you as well too, because you're seeing exactly what I'm putting out in the stream.
Both of us, I can see the both of us. So it's almost like we're sitting next to each other.
Yes. Before we get started, I do want to remind everybody this is the Smoker Show, so there'll be some people in the chat that might possibly not know what vaping is. So be gentle, be kind, be welcoming to the community, and let's try to keep the really advanced vape stuff out of this. What we're trying to do here is trying to welcome smokers into the community. Teach them about vaping, and of course, discover this wonderful smoking alternative that we have discovered. Right? What are you doing? Can you get comfortable? Really?
Like things they're not working here. Okay, hold on.
What are you doing? Seriously? I mean, this is really embarrassing.
I'm trying to put my fan on.
Okay. Do you got your fan on?
I think we're ready.
All right. Why don't you say hi to everybody then?
Hi, everybody. Then, how's everybody doing? Thank you very much for joining us on the Smoker Show. You might recognize this backdrop. I'm in Rochester right now, and getting ready to go back to Florida tomorrow. As a matter of fact, like pretty much all of my vape gear is packed up. So I just pulled this out. I got it like a P3, with a Aries on there.
That's cool.
It works. And look what I found. Dimitri,
what'd you find?
Look what I found.
What'd you find? Oh, this is the device that started everything for me. Really,
it really is. This is where Dimitri Pink started, right here.
Yeah,
ladies and gentlemen.
Exactly. That is that should go into the Vape Museum Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. How does it feel being back there? Is it a little bit nostalgic being back into your old vape player? I'm not used to. I mean, I'm used to seeing that background, but it's been a while since I've seen it.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's definitely nostalgic. I mean, I tried to duplicate everything that I have here in Florida, so that like when I travel back and forth between the two locations, it's not like I have to carry like tons of equipment with me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's weird because I have some stuff there now that I don't have here, and when I go to grab it, I'm like, oh man, it's up there. But I have a lot of stuff here that's not up there, like that right there. But yeah, it's good to be here, but I'm looking forward to getting back too.
Awesome, and I'll get to see you too as well. We'll talk about that in just a second.
Yeah.
But first, we do have, of course, to thank our sponsors, wonderful sponsors. We do have Naked 100 that's come on board for the Smoker Show, another liquid company, again, dedicated to some higher nicotines and some products out there for the smokers. And so that's one thing that we told you from the beginning, that the companies that are going to represent the show, we want to make sure that they have, the products that are catering to smokers. So My Vapor Store and Naked 100 are two new sponsors, and really excited about this. My Vapor Store has given us the code MTL10 for a discount on their website and all the products that me and Phil design. That's pretty sweet of it. Isn't that nice?
That's really, really cool. And if you can, Bill, make sure you put the code in the chat as well.
Yes, MTL10 at My Vapor Store for all the products that me and Phil design. I thought that was really, really cool of them. And of course, our telephone lines are open. 215-383-5752. Those are brought to you, of course, by the Vaping Advocate magazine. So we certainly appreciate it. If you got any questions or comments or anything that you want to talk about, please call us up and let's have some vape or smoke discussion as well too.
Absolutely. And by the way, there's already a question in the chat. Yes. The flags are still there. I just have the camera angled down a little bit. Yeah. So, yeah, there they are.
Why would you say that? Because right before we started the show, I was like, angle the camera down. He's like, oh, people are going to see the flags. I'm like, oh, yeah, but it looks better when you have that little angle.
Do I not know the crowd? Absolutely.
You sure do know the crowd. And by the way, your questions in the chat, Bill is monitoring them. So if they kind of pile up, he sends them to me privately. That way I can go through them because there's a lot of stuff going on in the chat. And we certainly want to thank everybody that just came over from Scott Taylor Show from ST Vape. So thanks for hanging out with us, and help a smoker, help a friend. All right.
You are actually until Dimitri gets too tired or Phil drinks too much. One of the two. We're not sure.
Probably the latter will happen.
Probably. But it's going to be a good time. Lots of door prizes, lots of giveaways. We're going to do raffles. We're going to have a fundraiser for FSFA. I know Naples Vapors are going to be giving away a flat screen TV. So it's really something that if you have the opportunity, I would love to meet you. I'm really excited about this, and I'm glad that we were finally able to make this happen with the help of Naples Vapor.
It's really exciting that you're going to get to meet some local vapers there, since
I'm really excited about that.
New to the area.
I did a couple of events here in Rochester, and I'm excited to do the my first event in Cape Coral.
But most importantly, Phil, at this event,
yes,
right? Most importantly, we really want to bring smokers. So if you have a smoker friend, bring them there. We're going to have a special surprise for them, and we're going to take care of them. We want you to bring smokers. Maybe we'll film a couple as well, too, and play it on the next smoker show as well, too. So if you have smokers, bring them down to Naples Vapor this Saturday from 3 until... Oh, by the way, you don't have to bring anything. You can bring a smoker and bring a bottle of Jack Daniels. That Phil will love you forever.
I agree with you. Bring either smokers or Jack Daniels. Yes.
And then the following week from there, we're going to be down in Greece. We're going to be attending the Vape Expo event, which is September the 8th and 9th. And as you can see from the
Dimitri, I might say this that I'm very, very concerned about the Greece thing that's going on.
What's going on? Why?
I have seen about like 5 to 6 flyers, and I can't read a word on any of the flyers except for the part that says Phil Busardo, and I see my photo and your photo. So I'm pretty sure that I have something to do with the event there in Greece.
You don't have to worry about anything. You just
I'm a little concerned about what's going on. I am.
You just show up and you smile and everything is going to be fine, buddy. That's all you're going to do. But we do have an extensive... Everybody really wants to meet you, and everybody's really excited about the 𝗘-𝗡𝗡𝗢𝗏 products as well, too. So we have, unfortunately or fortunately, we have an event every night of our stay in Greece, including Thursday night when we land. Well, we land Thursday morning. Thursday night we have an event, and from there on, Friday we have an event. Saturday and Sunday is the show. Then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday we have an event, and then Friday we fly and we come back. But
working me like a Greek dog.
But I know that's really exciting for you to meet people and to talk to vapers, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So, more details, vapeexpert.com, and of course on our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram on that. That's it. That's all I had to say. So let's talk about some vaping. And, you know, before we get started, Phil, in talking about the topics that we have lined up here today, we always have to remind people what vaping is, right? Is vaping safe is the biggest question that we're hearing right now, especially with the mainstream media that are just giving us a beating. So before we get started on our first topic, Phil, is vaping safe?
Yeah, we've had some pretty good research and some pretty good articles come out. I know you covered one of those articles and some of that research on your Smoke-Free Radio show. We were going to talk about it on tonight's show. Maybe we'll do it on the next Smoker show and dig into it a little bit more. But you know, when people ask, "Is vaping safe?" Is the correct answer yes, it's safe? No, that is absolutely not the correct answer. Although most studies conclude that vaping is far safer than smoking, up to 95% or maybe even more, we strongly recommend that if you do neither, continue to do neither. What is the purpose of this show? This purpose of this show is not to create new vapors that didn't vape or didn't smoke. This is not to create the next generation of vapors. This show is targeted at smokers and converting smokers to vaping, because smoking, I think we all know, it's bad, right? Reducing cigarettes through vaping is good. It's not perfect, but it's good. Eliminating cigarettes through vaping, that's better. That's where we want to be, especially if you're a smoker. Not smoking and not vaping, that's best. Okay, so if that's where you are, stay where you are. Also remember that if you do see a negative article about vaping, question whether or not that article compares the negative to that of a traditional combustible tobacco cigarette. If it does not, in our opinion, it's invalid. You might see negative articles about vaping. You might read and hear things in mainstream media. If they do not compare what they found to the same thing in a real traditional combustible tobacco cigarette, don't believe it or question it. Right? Because vaping is not harm elimination. Vaping is harm reduction. And anybody who tells you it's safe is blowing vapor up your butt.
And I went through this extensively on my show, smokefreeradio.com. You can go to my YouTube channel and look at the replay as well, too. If you want to get a little bit more detailed, I just don't want to overbear, especially new vapors and smokers on this. But this is, the Royal College of Physicians is one of the most prestigious colleges of physicians in the world with over 32,000 physicians. They are the first body of physicians that actually produced evidence 2 years before the Surgeon General here in the United States that smoking causes cancer and, of course, tobacco-related illnesses. So this is not something that we're using as, oh, yeah, it's just a little group or whatever. This is a very prestigious college of physicians. And, the great thing about what Planet of the Vapes here has done is they've actually kind of breaking it down into some very, very helpful cards. But the most important one that you can take from this is reading this sentence. E-cigarettes present an opportunity to significantly accelerate already declining smoking rates and thereby tackle one of the largest causes of death in the UK today. They are substantially less harmful by around 95% than conventional cigarettes. And keep in mind that we say that, we say that around. I mean, in most cases, it's even a bigger number than that. It's just very kind of hard to quantify because, when we're looking at 95% less harm, if a cigarette takes 30, 40 years to kill you, an e-cigarette could possibly take 400 years. It's really irrelevant at that point, right? So we're talking about the reduced harm, and that's what vaping is all about. By the way, if you have any questions, if you're a smoker, don't feel intimidated to put your questions in the chat. We'll grab them and we'll answer them as well too. If you have something that you've heard about vaping, if you're thinking I've heard on the news about explosions or whatever it is, post it in the chat and we'll try to get to it as well too.
We will. And I think it's important there that we talk about vaping being far safer than smoking. Well, we kind of know that when we smoke, it's hurting us, it's harming us, it's potentially going to kill us. But if smoking is going to kill me, let's say at between 70 and 80 years of age, and vaping is going to kill me, I don't know, between 300 and 400 years of age, I'm going to go with vaping, right? And I hope that makes sense, right? It's kind of like, when I was smoking, I always used to look at the cigarette packs that said, smoking causes issues with pregnancy, right? Those are the ones that I bought because I thought I would be okay, right? But, keep in mind, it is harm reduction, not harm elimination. Dimitri, we see a lot of positive articles. We see a lot of support coming from the UK, right? And we all know that, our lungs are much different than the folks over in the UK. We understand that I don't know how, but why do you think we're seeing the support for vaping there that we're not seeing here? In your opinion, what's the reason behind that?
I think the number one reason is because the big groups have not gotten behind it yet. And I think that's very, very important until the government comes out, like they've done in the UK, which uses, by the way, a different healthcare system. And this is very, very crucial because a lot of people talk about big tobacco and they're talking about special interest lobbying and all that, but nobody's talking about the big elephant in the room, and that is the pharmaceutical and the healthcare lobby here in the United States, which is huge, okay? So until one of the government bodies comes out and embraces it and says, just like the UK does, it is at least 95% less harmful, the rest of the players that seem to benefit from people to keep on smoking are always going to err on the side of caution, as they call it. But really what they're trying to do is you're either going to quit or you're going to die, which they know it does not work. It hasn't worked for all these years. So that's one of the reasons why we're seeing a lot of these negative campaigns, which are actually bought and paid for. It's not like, I want people to understand that it's not like American Lung Association woke up one day and says, I'm going to print this. This is all being used through agencies and PR firms. The second reason why we're seeing a lot of that is because our industry, the vape industry, has not been able to do exactly what they're doing. And that is, so far, because we might have some news in that in a few months, but so far we haven't been able to do a positive PR campaign in the media as well, too. To see one of those, maybe PSAs during CNN for 30 seconds saying, according to the Royal College of Physicians, vaping is 95% less harmful. So until we start seeing a little bit of a balance, and that might just take a couple more years, unfortunately, that's just the way it is. Always we're kind of behind when it comes to a radical change, because this is a radical product. This is a disruptive technology that has come along, just blindsided everybody until the science gets caught up here in the United States. We're not going to see it. And I think those are the two biggest main reasons.
Yeah, but it really is a shame that the science that is being created in the UK is not being embraced here in the States.
Yes, it's not, because the way, unfortunately, our government works, especially with the FDA that's regulating this product, part of their, the Tobacco Control asked for them to do their own studies, which is called the PATH study. But it's a longitudinal, my teeth. It's a very long study. It could take 7-8 years for all the results of this study to come out. It's going on right now. So we might see a good study come out next year, or we might see a better study come out, a more fair study come out in 2 years from now. But until that past study comes out, this is the only data they're going to use. You can reference the UK, but as far as the regulatory framework, they're going to use their own data. And that's why we're seeing what we're seeing right now. Yeah.
Right. And, for the folks who are watching this, especially the smokers, the reason why we're communicating this to you is because there is a lot of negative press that you see about vaping. There's a lot of negative things that you're hearing in mainstream media, and it's potentially frightening away people from this potentially life-saving technology that we're using here.
Sure. And
we don't want that to happen, right? That's why we want to talk to you about these articles and talk to you about these studies. And I think maybe even the next show, we just kind of focus on, is it safe? What have we seen so far that points to whether or not this is safe, or at least tobacco harm elimination or reduction? And maybe we get some experts on the show as well to talk more about it.
Yeah. And here's a question from the chat that we can answer immediately. American Patriot, is there any information regarding effects of secondhand vapor around others? And again, I'm referencing this. This is from the Science and Tech report that just came out from the UK. Secondhand vape. It has also proven challenging to measure the risks from secondhand e-cigarette vapor because it is negligible and substantially less than that of conventional cigarettes. So basically what they're saying is it's impossible to measure the harm from secondhand vapor because it does not exist. It's basically way below the acceptable levels of us just breathing everyday air. So there's absolutely no concern. It's been proven even here in CDC, and this is what I'm telling you about the past study. The study was published last week from air quality done in a vape shop, which has a lot of vapor inside. And even the study here in the United States, which of course you didn't see on mainstream media here, but we do have the study, shows that it's way below the acceptable levels as well too. So basically don't believe the hype. This is the hardest part for me to get across from smokers, because every time you talk to them, and I don't know, if you're a vapor, it's frustrating because you say, well, it's better. And they're like, oh, popcorn lung. Oh, it's better. Oh, explosions. Oh, it's better. It's this. Because this is all you constantly see on the media. Yeah. But we are here to tell you is that put that all aside. And if you've tried everything else out there to quit and you're still smoking, give vaping a try.
Yeah. And, from the secondhand study report, I've read that report, and it really, and they did this test in a vapey, foggy vape shop, right? And nothing was found. But I think there also needs to be a certain amount of respect for people who are around you when you are vaping, because they may not have read that study. They don't know anything about vaping, but what they do know is that it looks just like smoking, so therefore it is harmful for you. So I mean, I think there should be also a respect level, and you shouldn't blow a cloud on somebody who's walking down the street, right?
A little bit of vape etiquette, I would call it, right?
Vape etiquette, absolutely. If you go to somebody's home, don't just whip out your vaporizer and start vaping. Even to this day, even if I go over to somebody's house who vapes, I always ask, is it okay if I vape in here? And if not, I'll go outside and vape, right? Just have etiquette. Be respectful. Be respectful for the people around you. I hear about people vaping in restaurants. Sometimes just the exhaled vapor might have an odor that that people around you may not like, right? I know one of my favorite vapes is the green peach tea, but it has not a very good secondhand smell.
It does not,
right? I also don't like mapley vapes. They just smell too sweet to me. So I think you should have a certain amount of respect for the people who are around you and practice a certain amount of vape etiquette.
And I have actually a really good idea that maybe we'll do it in Florida and play it on the next Smoker Show. But we should do a vape etiquette episode and just kind of go through maybe some situations where you're at, where it's acceptable, it's not acceptable, and what to do in those situations. Because listen, me and Phil, we vape everywhere. We really do. But there's a right way of doing it, and there's a wrong way of doing it as well, too. That's the beauty about vaping as well, too. Anyway, we just kind of veered off to another topic.
We did, but I think it's a good conversation.
It really is a good conversation. But, the main topic that we're going to talk about today, Phil, is something that I hear all the time. Again, how much is it going to cost me? And to be fair, in the last couple of years, unfortunately, the cost of vaping has gone up. Right?
Mm-hmm.
As technology advanced, as more people became vapers and then created an enthusiast, an advanced vapor customer base, a lot of the stuff in vaping, the price has increased, including liquid as well too, and the way that we consume liquid as well too. Would you agree with that, Phil?
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. You know, the way people vape, the way people vape, the amount of consumables that they're using, the amount of e-liquids that they're using, has certainly driven the cost up. And now we have tariffs to deal with as well. So, and not to mention, you know, state taxes. So there's a lot of things at play that have driven the cost of vaping up. However, no matter how you slice it, it should still be cheaper than smoking. Now, if you are one of those people who has to have every new vape device that comes out, and there's like, I don't know, 5 a day, of course it's not going to be cheaper than smoking.
And that's okay. If you want to be a hobbyist, it's okay, right?
Of course. Of course.
But what we're talking about here is, again, for a smoker transitioning. And for a smoker transitioning, it can be overwhelming and it can be costly, especially if you don't know where you're shopping, if you just kind of go blind, you don't do some research. Always do research. When I tried my first and Phil as well, Phil to almost a disgusting level of research. I didn't do that much level, but I did do some research before I bought my first electronic cigarette kit. Did I overpay? Yes, I overpaid, but ultimately I quit smoking, and that's the main thing for me. But it is always good to do some research, and you do not have to spend a lot of money to get started, and you don't have to spend a lot of money to continue to vape as well too. Now, having said that, especially for people like me and Phil, we do like a variety, and you do like to have new devices and stuff like that. Again, once you quit smoking, even if you do like to splurge, you're still going to be ahead of the game, and hopefully we'll be able to present that here to you. And there's various ways of vaping today as well too, where when we quit, Phil, right? When we quit, it was a little bit more, and I want you to explain that, it was a little bit more cut and dry on costs of what you're going to buy and what's going to kind of cost you, you know, to vape on average.
And I think that's simply because of less choice, right? We had a lot less choice when we started vaping. There were not a lot of products. There were not a lot of kits. There were not a lot of e-liquid companies. I mean, really, 𝗘𝗟𝗜𝗏 was one of the companies that I started with. Then came Halo, and then a few others, and then boom, the explosion happened, right? But it was easier because you kind of had a better idea of what you should get, because there was only a limited handful of things. But you know, so that's a good thing. But the bad thing is there wasn't the amount of variety, and there wasn't the amount of ways to vape back then that we have today, right? So I always say that, you know, if you cannot find today something that will work to get you off of traditional combustible tobacco cigarettes, either one, you're not trying hard enough, or two, you're simply not ready to give it up. You're not ready to quit.
I totally agree, and very, very well said, Phil. I think when we're looking at the overall cost versus health, right? To me, it's even if I had to pay more, if I can protect my health, it's definitely worth it. But you know, having said that, I think it's time to get in. I think I've got these lined up the way that you told me. I'll be very, very satisfied.
So I worked on these today, you know, with Dimitris' help, and I know that the chat is about to explode when we show this. Okay. We had to do some generalities, right? We had to do some assumptions. We had to get some kits and some scenarios together. Are these all the scenarios? No, they are not. Will these be exactly how you vape? No, they are not. Right. Can you save even additional money? Yes, you can. Did we look at rebuildables and DIYing? No, we did not. And again, why? Because this is the smoker show, right? The smokers, maybe not on day one, will be interested in rebuildables. The smokers on day one will probably not be interested in DIYing, right? This is the smoker show, and we're trying to make this easy for people. Okay.
It's sad that we have to keep reminding people, but I know a lot of people are passionate about vaping, and we get it, we understand it, but it can be confusing, especially for somebody that's new. David Maresca stopped smoking 2 months and 24 days and 11 hours ago with vaping, and it's working. So congratulations, David. Shout out to you, my friend. Congratulations.
Awesome, David.
And many more smoke-free years to come. Absolutely. So, you know, as always, like we talk about science field, but we always have to compare smoking to vaping. Every time we talk about vaping and risks, we always have to compare it to the alternative, which is smoking. We're going to do the same thing here. And of course, we're going to start with the cost of smoking, correct?
Sure. So let's take a look at this slide right here. And we're going to see, like, I even put it in an asterisk up there. Note, some assumptions and generalities have been made. All right. So smoking. Well, let's make the assumption of 1 pack per day. Let's make the assumption of an average price per pack of $7, right? A lot more expensive in certain places, a lot cheaper in other places. And of course, you can go to the Indian reserves and get them even cheaper than that. But if we look at those assumptions, smoking is going to cost you approximately $2,500 per year.
And this is pretty much for me when me and my wife smoked at the time. This is, I had figured $2,200 a year. I used to smoke natural American spirits, a little bit more expensive. My wife smoked Marlboro Ultralight 100s, but on average, we were paying about $6 per pack. So we were spending $4,400 a year on cigarettes. I mean, this was documented at the time, okay? So I think this is pretty accurate. Now, yeah, if you're a heavy smoker, obviously you're going to smoke more. If you're going to, it doesn't matter. We're talking about averages here. This is what we're trying to get a good grasp of the financial actual situation, right, Phil?
Right. So let's go to the next slide now, and let's talk about direct lung vaping. You want to call it cloud chasing. You want to call it volume vaping. Let's look at an example here. Okay, so we're calling it average direct lung. So here's the assumptions. We're going to look at a smoke 𝗘𝗡𝗚𝗏 kit. Am I saying that right? Is it priv or priv?
But it doesn't make a difference. Like nobody can say smoke or smock, so it doesn't really make a difference.
I don't know why people started calling it smock. Anyway. The 𝗘𝗡𝗏 kit with a TFV12 tank, okay? And I quoted My Vapor Store prices because they are one of our sponsors. Thank you very much, My Vapor Store. So that kit is going to cost you $57.99. The coil for that tank is going to cost you $4.66 per coil. I'm assuming here that we are going to use and I'm quoting Naked E-Liquid here from MVS because Naked is now one of our sponsors. So 60 ml bottle of Naked E-Liquid is $18.99. Here's the assumptions. 2 kits per year. Okay. Maybe that kit will last you the entire year. Maybe it won't. So that's why I put 2, 1 coil per week, and 2 60 ml E-Liquid bottles per week. So if we take that and we look at the cost of that, you're looking at about $2,333.26 per year. And that surprised me a little bit. But it also kind of coincides with things I'm hearing from the community that people are kind of going back to mouth to lung. They've had their fun with direct lung. They've blown their clouds. They've created their tricks. They've done this, right? And they have identified it as expensive to do.
Yeah.
Right. So they're starting to change or think about different things, or maybe moving into pod systems or things like that. But I was actually surprised when I did that slide how close that was to smoking.
I think that's a pretty average assumption. I think that's pretty spot on, I'll be honest with you, because the consumption in direct lung vaping is obviously way above, since usually direct lung requires lower nicotine. And in turn, your body is asking you to vape a little bit more. That way you can consume the nicotine that your body is looking for. And this is, again, a good and a bad thing. It's a good thing from the sense that if you're looking to wean yourself off nicotine, and there are people out there that do want to wean themselves from nicotine, this is a good way of going about it. It's going to be a little bit more expensive, but hopefully you'll be able to work down to 0. But if your body does if you want to continue to go nicotine, it makes no sense for you to drop your nicotine level. In fact, it makes more sense for you to raise your nicotine level. That way, you're consuming less, and in turn, you're going to be spending less money as well, too. So the direct lung way of vaping, which is very, very popular, not necessarily the most inexpensive, especially for somebody that is starting.
Right. But let's not forget, still safer than smoking. Okay?
Absolutely. All right, so
let's go to the next slide and let's look at the Juul. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So here comes the next slide. And here's the assumptions for the Juul. Average price for a Juul is about $34.99. The average price for a single Juul pod is $4. So the assumptions are two Juul purchases or 2 kits per year. Again, it could last you for the full year, but I assume 2 kits for every one of the charts or the slides that I did. So 2 Juul purchases per year, 1 Juul pod per day. The total here, $1,529.98 per year.
Again, that is a little bit. Again, that kind of surprised me a little bit as well too. For a dedicated pod user, still cheaper than smoking. Again, the consumption of the Juul pod, because it doesn't have a high milligram nicotine, we're saying on an average one. I know people that blow through 2 pods in a day, but that's again, you can't take these individual cases. We have to base it on average. If they're saying that's going to last like a pack of cigarettes, then 1 pod a day is actually a fair assumption. The good thing about this, this is an easy to use device. Plug and play. There's nothing to mess if you're a little bit older, if you don't want to mess around with settings or anything like that. If you don't want to mess with filling tanks, pod systems are a very, very good option. Juul might not be the cheapest one, because there's definitely cheaper pre-filled pod systems on the market. And one is coming from our sponsor as well, too. I'm very, very excited I've been able to prototype test it. But there's more inexpensive options out there for you. However, if Juul is what's doing it for you, if this is the kind of strength of nicotine that's keeping you off cigarettes, this is what you're going to expect to spend throughout the year for the cost of vaping on a pre-filled pod system.
Yeah. Hey, let's not forget, too, with the pod systems and with the higher nicks and the nick salt, your consumption hopefully should go down, like, drastically, right? Especially if you're coming from like direct lung to using a device like that, you should be consuming a lot less, which I personally think, and I think we're going to find with more studies that come out, to be a good thing, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think that consumption in this, I've actually heard it from doctors themselves that do research on electronic cigarettes as well too. That is just a math game. The percentage of harm, even though it's small, the more consumption, that percentage of harm will increase. I mean, it's just plain mathematics, right? And depending on the volume of vapor that's inhaled every day. Again, much safer than smoking, though. I think that we always have to put that in there. But now we've seen, again in the market, just a flood feel of open pod systems, right? Again, something that's different that's come on the market, and they seem to be very popular. I get one in the mail every day to do reviews on the pod systems.
Right. So let's take a look at the open pod system now, okay? And we'll use the Inikin EQ as an example. So the assumptions here: the Inikin EQ, $24.99, again from MVS. A replacement EQ pod, $3.99 per pod. Now I kind of went to salt-based nicotine because I think those are popular in the pods. Mm-hmm. The good news is with the Inikin EQ, it's also satisfying with the free-based nicotine. So, but anyway, let's look at a 30 mil Salt Bay e-liquid bottle from MVS for $17.99 for that bottle. We're going to, again, look at 2 kits per year. In this case, we're going to look at 2 pods per week. And again, you might get more than that. You might get less. I don't know. But because I'm using Salt Nic, that's the assumption that I made. And we're looking at 1 30 mil e-liquid bottle per week. And here your cost is approximately $1,400.42 per year.
Again, pricing, we're seeing that stuff gets cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and that's how we have why we have it kind of structured that way. I do want to take a pause here, Phil, and explain, right? The open system versus the closed system, even though price is not a huge difference, I mean, a couple $100 a year, there are some benefits to the open pod system versus the closed pod system. And I think the biggest benefit to that, and if you saw our previous smoker show, we talked about the flavor study, is the variety of flavors that you can get. And obviously when you're shopping around for e-liquid, you can find liquids that are cheaper, especially if you're using something like the EQ that does free-based nicotine. Get a higher nicotine liquid much cheaper and save some money as well too. But the biggest benefit, in my opinion, Phil, is the variety of flavors, which are very vital for a smoker, right?
Absolutely. And I think we are going to talk about e-liquids here a little bit later on, but as long as you've identified an e-liquid that's going to work well in the pod, when you go into an open pod system, first of all, you can maybe get a little bit longer life out of that pod because you're filling it yourself and you're not having to throw it away when it's empty. So that's number one. And number two, it just opens up a tremendous amount of variety for you to try different liquids, right? You're not limited to the liquids that come in the pod. So those are probably 2 of the biggest benefits when it comes to an open pod system versus a closed system.
Yeah, and also feel these devices, even the open pods, and they have a life cycle, and that's why we decided to go with 2, right? I mean, they're all kind of tested, you know, like a 500 charge cycle, 600 charge cycle. So depending on how much you vape, an average 2 a year is how we came up with that number.
Yep, that's what I did.
So, which brings us to this cost of vaping, which will be the mouth to lung style vaping, right?
Yep, and in this case, I used the 𝗘-𝗟𝗏𝗤𝗏 kit with the Zenith tank. I could have easily have done like an 𝗘-𝗏𝗏 T18, or we'll say a Joytech Ego AIO, something like that. But we used the chroma kit with the Zenith tank, $49.99 from my vapor store. The Z coil from my vapor store, $2.50 per coil. This time I'm looking at 60 mil of naked e-liquid per week at $18.99. Again, the assumptions, 2 kits per year, 1 coil per week, 1 60 mil e-liquid bottle per week. And there, the cost is $1,217.46 per year.
So as a smoker, I'm going to ask you, Phil, why only 1 bottle of 60 mil per week in this type of setup?
Versus
2 bottles in the direct lung setup.
Direct lung simply vaporizes more e-liquid. For the most part, that's what those setups are designed to do. The coils are designed to vaporize more e-liquid. You're typically running them at higher wattage. Higher wattage means that you're applying the required power to vaporize more e-liquid, right? You're also taking a larger draw, right? So the volume of vapor that you're getting when you are direct lunging, you're filling up your lungs as opposed to just filling up your mouth and then bringing it into your lungs. So typically, the average vapor is going to vape more e-liquid when they are direct lunging versus when they are mouth to lung.
And also the nicotine content plays roles, because usually the mouth to lung style vaping usually vaporize a higher milligram of nicotine, resulting in you not vaping as much. Even if you're picking up the device, you're not vaping as much as if you were with a direct lung. So, by the way, let me just take a little break here because I do want to have a couple of shout outs. I love reading about stuff like this. Vegas Ale, I have been dual using for about 8 years, and now he's 2 months cigarette free, everything at your own pace. This is a very good comment for people that are in the chat that, you know, sometimes
very happy to hear that. They're very happy. You know, I noticed with all of my friends who dual used, it took them a really, really long time to quit, or they went back to smoking, right? And when I hear a success story here like this, where somebody dual used for that period of time and now is completely cigarette free, my compliments to you. And let's keep it up and let's not look back. Okay.
Awesome. Here's another one. 𝗘-𝗟𝗏𝗘𝗏, 16-year smoker at a pack and a half a day. Bought a smoke mag kit 2 weeks ago and smoked my last cigarette last Friday. Could have never done it without the flavored 𝗘𝗔𝗪𝗡𝗏. Congratulations, Dylan. I love hearing stories like this. And one more. Timmy vapes a lot. I just got my mom off cigarettes with a pod system. 3 weeks already. So congratulations to your mother, Timmy. That's very
great.
Exciting. That's
Congrats,
very
Mom.
Exciting. Yeah.
Go ahead. We have one more chart because
I just wanted to remind everybody that the phone lines are open, 215-383-5752. If you have any questions or comments, call in, press 1. And when I get to the queue, we will get to your questions. All right, Phil, go ahead.
So we got one more because I happen to like charts and graphs, right? Because
no, not you.
See my reviews, you kind of know that. So we got one more to look at, and then we'll take a break from one of our sponsors. But here it is, right? I had to, because it's always easier to look at things like this, right? Isn't it? I think it is anyway.
Yes.
So we have smoking all the way over onto the left. We have $2,500 per year. Then we have the average direct lung at 2333.26. We have the Juul at 1,529.98. We have the average open pod system at 1,442 cents. And then we have the average mouth to lung at 1,217.46 cents.
I love
so there
graphs.
you go. Now, again, can it be more expensive? Yes, it can. Can it be even cheaper? Yes, it can. Can you DIY and build your own coils? Yes, you can. But we didn't want to get too complicated with this. We wanted a good view of the different styles of vaping, and this is what we've come up for you. And bottom line is, no matter how you vape, it's still cheaper than smoking, and it's still a whole lot better for you than smoking.
It is, and I think that the purpose of this segment is what to expect. I think that's something that maybe a lot of smokers don't understand as well, too, when you get into this. Now, I'm not saying when you get started, you know, you might love vaping and then you see your buddy having a different device and you want to go buy it. That's fine. But I think it's very important for you to understand what to expect from a cost, because it's not a one-time purchase thing. Vaping is not a one-device solution. It's an electronic piece of equipment. It could fail at any time. You should have a backup. You should always be prepared. Always think ahead, okay? Cigarettes are very simple. You can go to the store, pick up a pack of cigarettes, and you're done. If you like this particular liquid that you can't find in your hometown and you have to order it online, guess what? It takes 2 or 3 days. If you're using the postal service, it might take even longer if it gets lost or if it has to travel all over the nation to get to your house. So you always, that was one of the things when I started, because we didn't have brick and mortar stores. I had to order everything online. I had panic attacks. When I was cutting it close, when I was waiting on my cartridges to come out of my liquid, and I was down to my last bottle or to my last 10 mLs, even though if I knew it was coming the next day, I was still getting into that panic mode. And that kind of deters people from switching as well too, Phil. I mean, you need to be comfortable just like you were when you had a pack of cigarettes in your pocket.
You know, the worst thing that can happen if you walk out of the house with a pack of cigarettes is you forget your lighter. And then you're like, hey, can I bum a light? Can I bum a light? Can you, or you'll rub 2 sticks together. You'll do anything to light that cigarette, right? This is a technology product. Technology breaks. So it is very important to have backups for your backups. Have something extra in your car. Have something extra with you. You know, my story is always back in 2009 when I started vaping. I went on vacation and I only brought 1 PV and 1 bottle of e-liquid. And sure enough, the PV worked, right? But I ran out of e-liquid. Back then, there was no such thing as a brick and mortar store. They did not exist back then. So you couldn't go to a store and buy more e-liquid. So, you know, I was having a little bit of a nicotine panic attack. So I bummed a cigarette and I took 2 drags off of it and I threw it on the floor. I'm like, oh my God, that is disgusting, right? Because you forget how bad it is when you're smoking. It's like, oh, it's the greatest thing ever. But when you give it up and you go to these fruity, delicious flavors of vaping, and then you go back to smoking, you're like, oh, wow, this is kind of horrid, right? Yeah. So I put it down and I just kind of grinned and bared it for the rest of the vacation until I got back home and I got to my e-liquid again. But it is very, very important to have backups for your backups when you go out, especially if you go out for extended periods of time, like a vacation.
Yeah. I see a lot of people posting websites and all that inside the chat. Have a little respect, because it gets a little bit confusing for people as well too. Your favorite liquid might not be somebody's favorite liquid as well too. I always tell people that it's all up to you. Go to the store, find your favorite flavor profile that you like, and then, you know, shop around, try different stuff. When I started vaping, I tried like 175 different flavors, and I only liked 1. That's just the way it is. So please be a little bit respectful.
A couple other things too in the chat. First of all, I want to congratulate. Where is it? Hold on, I'll find it in a
American Patriot.
No, that's not who it. Where is he? I just saw him a second ago. But anyway, I do want to mention that because a lot of people who DIY e-liquid are so passionate about that, right? Mm-hmm. That they feel like everybody else needs to DIY, okay? Because it's so easy and it saves them so much money. I don't know a lot of cigarette smokers who make their own cigarettes and who roll their own, or, you know,
or grow their tobacco.
Yeah, right. I mean, so we kind of have to respect the fact that somebody who's getting into vaping today, in the future, that is something they might want to try, is DIY. In the future, that is something they might want to try, building their own coil, right? But they may never want to do that, right? They may never want to build a coil. They may never want to DIY. You know, even when because I just got a product in that it's this guy's answer to the flavor bans, right? And, you know, it's a bottle of empty or no flavored liquid. It's already nicked and everything, and it comes with a bottle of flavoring. And I look at those 2 bottles, and it reminds me of like when I go to the UK, right? And I see all these different bottles with all these different like nicotine shots and everything. Or when I go to Greece and I see, you know, Shake and Vape with these bottles and these flavors and the PG and the VG and the nicotine. You know what I wanted? I want nothing to do with that, right? Yeah. Even though I am an experienced vapor, even though I have a wall of flavors behind me and a mixing lab in that door, through that door, I really want nothing to do with that. Yeah, I want to get my bottle of e-liquid that's all mixed, and I want to put it in my tank, and I want to vape and be happy, right?
Yeah.
So there are always going to be those people who want nothing to do with DIY.
There's also a safety factor, Phil. I think this is something a lot of the advanced vapors, they just just spew stuff out. But people don't understand you're handling nicotine here. I mean, you're a smoker. The last thing you want to do is handle products, especially if you're not educated on the safety of these products and trial and error. You should always have some backup stuff, because just because you mix doesn't necessarily mean that whatever is going to come out is going to be good or is going to be based on your flavor profile. But I think people should be a little bit more mindful about this, because I think it can lead to people getting frustrated and to quit smoking. All right, I've got a phone call, Phil. Let's go ahead and bring that up, and then we're going to take a break.
Bring up the phone call. I also want to congratulate Larry. Larry is one of my new friends from 𝗘𝗡𝗄𝗏. His son started vaping, I think 3 months ago now, and he hasn't had a cigarette since. So congratulations to you, Larry. And I hope to see you at the shop on Saturday.
Maybe
too.
He'll come to the Netbook server, and I get to meet Larry as well, too. All right. This area code is a little bit weird. 4412. You're on the air with Phil and Dimi. What's up? Hello.
Hello, is that me?
That is you, yes.
Oh, hello, yes. Phil Lee here. I want to thank particularly Phil for helping me to discover the range of options that were available to me when I started vaping. I was temperature controlled from a very early stage, and there are very few reviewers who take it seriously. Mm-hmm. And Phil was one of those.
That's awesome.
One of the very few.
I really, really appreciate that. Thank you for that. And I tell you what, we are going to, on one of these shows, we are going to attack and tackle temperature control. And I think Dimitri on that night might actually just sit out completely. He might not even join the show.
Let me take a guess. You're not from Alabama, right?
Well,
just want to make sure.
One of the things I'd like to sort of say about that is that one thing that kept me from vaping for quite a long time was the fear of the dry hit, because I'd heard about these things and I thought, inhaling burning cotton really doesn't sound like my cup of tea.
It's not. It really isn't.
Definitely not a fan of that. That actually did keep me from vaping for quite a while. And then I discovered from a friend that actually there was a technology that prevented that and allowed you to control the temperature, and that way the coil would stay at the same temperature, which was below the scorched temperature of cotton, but above the boiling point of the e-liquid, and that you could just adjust by temperature to get the flavour you wanted. And I thought, hey, wow, that sounds right up my street. Well, I did discover it was a bit more complicated than that, because no devices actually come by default set up to do that.
Correct.
And that is what I really think it needs for temperature control to be given the same chance that power control has been. We went to power control from variable voltage, and everything is now default wattage control. If we could do the same thing for temperature control, so that people open a kit, they get a tank which only takes stainless steel coils, their mod is set up to use stainless steel, and it just says, make sure it's at room temperature when you connect them together. And that's it. It's that simple. And if you stick to one coil material and just follow that basic advice of keeping that, making sure that everything is nice and stable at room temperature when you first introduce the coil to the mod, then it really is that simple. And everyone, I mean, even toddlers understand temperature. They get burnt if they don't. And if you confront what is termed in the UK the man on the Clapham omnibus, with a lot of stuff about the power in watts, the resistance in ohms, what voltage it's applying, how many amps are flowing, their eyes glaze over.
Yeah. Yeah, we
but
get
if
it.
you say, "Oh, I want it a bit hotter or a bit colder," oh yeah, they understand that.
Absolutely right.
Yep. We're actually working on a product.
We are. We can't say much about that, but we totally agree with you, and hopefully the technology is going to get to that point to make it more easy for smokers and to avoid the dreaded dry hits and the stuff that can turn them off.
I hate dry hits.
I think actually just a theme for the DNAC series that covers that would actually do the trick.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, let me give you my comments on that, and then we'll go ahead and take a break here. But when I first heard about temperature control, I thought, wow, this is going to be amazing, because here's what we're going to be able to do. E-liquid companies are going to be able to say that our e-liquid runs best at 432 degrees Fahrenheit, of course, something in Celsius for you, right? And by the way, here's the perfect range of heat for our e-liquid. And as you start to hit this temperature, some bad things are going to start to happen, and we're going to start to generate some formaldehyde or some other negative effects from the liquid. And I thought that was going to be the promise of temperature control. Unfortunately, that is not exactly how things panned out, right? Because 430 degrees on this device with this atomizer may not be 430 degrees on that device with that atomizer. One of the biggest things working against us in the world of temperature control is the 510 connection. It truly, truly is, right? Because that 510 connection really allows you to mate anything up with anything else for the most part, right? And because of the difficulties in temperature control, because of how accurate you have to be with the resistance, and because of the different materials and the internal resistance of atomizers themselves and devices, it becomes very, very difficult to do temperature control the way I tried to describe it at the beginning when I said, wow, this is going to be so cool because liquid companies are going to be able to advertise their perfect temperature for their liquid. But I agree with you. I agree with you that it does need to be easier.
Now you confuse me.
No, that's okay. I do agree with you. I agree with you that it does need to be easier. It needs to be more foolproof. I like the fact that we have replay now from the DNA products, which it is kind of, if you want to call it temperature control for dummies. I really don't want to call it that, but I mean, it's something like what it is. I mean, but no, I hear you. I agree with you. And I've been saying for a long time, we need to be able to take the really, really good technology that we have in the world of electronic cigarettes, and we need to be able to give it to anybody to use and to use perfectly all the time.
Well, we do thank you for staying up very, very late and hanging out with us, though. And we certainly...
Yeah, I was, by the way, a smoker for 40 years, almost to the day. And I started vaping with the intention of cutting down to save money. And it was 6 days after that, as far as I can recall, and I'm not certain which day, but certainly by 6 days after that, it was 9 cigarettes after that I smoked my last.
Fantastic. 40 years.
That
40
was
years.
in February last year.
If you can do it, anybody can do it. And that's one thing that I want to take away from this phone call. 40-year smoker.
Love
and
it.
Now a vapor. Congratulations, my friend, and thank you so much for calling in. And yeah, thanks for just praising Phil, not saying anything about me.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you, buddy. Have a good night. Well, good morning now over there in the UK. That was fantastic.
Yeah, that was a really good call. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
All right,
and answer to Mowgli there. No, the DNA 200 cannot be upgraded to use replay. You have to have a DNA C. So I think a 250C or a 75C can be upgraded to do temperature control.
Yes. And by the way...
or not temperature control, replay rather.
Here's a little lesson for you before you start doing a show. Make sure you have a charged battery. So having said that, let's just take a quick break so I can change the battery in my device, Mr. Field.
Okay.
you doing? You were jamming, right? Weren't you?
Well, no. Here, like with all of the information and all the facts that we're given and all of the positive stuff about vaping, if people can't convert, I'm going to try to hypnotize them.
Hold on. Look into Phil's eyes.
Notice their hearts too, by the way.
Yeah. Look into Phil's eyes. Now you are going into a deep sleep.
Vape. Don't smoke.
That's fantastic.
Don't smoke. Okay, that's good.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Either we got some more converts or people went into epileptic seizures. One of the two, we're not sure which. Okay.
Yeah. By the way, the 𝗘-𝗟𝗏 will be my next review on youtube.com/VapingGreek, and on Podmart, I will be taking a look at that and opening up my review up tomorrow, since I'm leaving Thursday to come meet with you. So we talked about the cost of vaping, and we always get this question about liquid, and again, we want to keep it a little bit generic here. The reason why I bring this up is because I started some really good conversations on Facebook about the milligram strength and what you're expecting to find out in the market, right? So the question that always I get, is what nicotine strength liquid I'm going to need. Now, keep in mind that technology has really advanced, Phil, and this is obviously your sector as well here. What we're saying is that in today's equipment that we have on the market, the majority of the equipment work from 3 milligram to 18 milligram. 12 to 18 milligram in today's market with the hardware that we have today should be sufficient to convert and satisfy most average smokers, right? Average smokers, right?
I would say so. I would think so. I mean, I started with an 18 milligram back on the Joy 510 in 2009, right? And even there, I quickly went to a 12. So with the technology that we have today, with the coils that we have today, with the efficiency of the way the e-liquid is vaporized today, it should be very, very easy for people to get their nicotine through vaping.
Yeah, I started with 36 and then quickly went to 24, but just a little retro and kind of like to show you what we had to deal with at the time. I think Phil has something ready for us to understand that the way that the liquid was being vaporized at the time is it's the same concept, but the electronics, or I should say the what's the word I'm looking here for? You're the engineer. The electrological equation, whatever, has changed from back then to now, right?
Everybody remember those right there? Oh, look at focus too. So those are cartomizers, and I believe these are some bogues here.
Yeah.
And you know what I found? I found this interesting because I looked on the side of this box, okay? And what it says is that these are the 510 low resistance stainless versions. Now, stainless, of course, back then did not mean the coil, right? Stainless meant that the casing was stainless steel as opposed to black. So I put it on the little test box here, and I switched it over to ohms. And the low resistance cartomizers back then were 2.17 ohms.
Wow.
That was the low resistance, right? And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to pull one of these coils. I haven't looked at one in a long time. So I'm going to pull one of these coils out, and I'm going to take a look at it. I'm going to show people on this show. And I actually pulled the coil out, and I didn't even realize I pulled it out until I started looking at the little pieces and parts, because the coil is right here. I'm going to try to get this to focus. All right.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Did you see that coil?
Yeah.
Do you see how tiny that coil is?
Mm-hmm.
That's the coil in that cartomizer. So, I mean, imagine, the size of the coils that we have today, right, and how much more e-liquid is being vaporized when we vape. Here's a HH357, which was a wildly popular little dripping atomizer back in its day from Avid Vapor. And if you look inside there, you're not going to be able to see this, but we'll try. But if you look inside, there's a tiny little coil in there that was really no bigger than that one right there. So, I mean...
But also, Phil, is the power that we were given to these devices back then. That particular Bogue cartomizer, if you put it on a stick battery at the time, it was getting very low power. Hence why we needed to have a higher strength of nicotine in order for us to feel it, simply because it wasn't vaporizing efficiently, or it was not delivering the power to that coil for us to have a more satisfying vape, correct?
Which is kind of interesting, because we've in a way, we've gone full circle, right? So we've in a way gone back to this with pod systems now, right? Only now, instead of 18 and 24 milligram freebase, now we're using 20, 40, and 50 salt nic. Right. So it's kind of interesting how things have gone almost full circle.
Absolutely. So the question, once again, is, what nicotine strength is good for me? Again, this is just our suggestion. It's more of a generalized suggestion that if you're just an average smoker, let's say a pack of cigarettes a day, if you're going to use regular nicotine in an open system like a Zenith tank or a 𝗘𝗟𝗏𝗘𝗧 or something like that, between 12 and 18 milligram, somewhere between that range, you should be happy. 18 if you're a little bit more of a heavier smoker, especially if you desire it with your coffee or when you're drinking or after sex. But and you see, I didn't make a joke that time.
You didn't. I was very surprised. I was waiting for it.
But generally, you should be satisfied in a mouth-to-lung setup with that. If you're going to go into a direct lung setup, anywhere between 3 and 12, anywhere between there, 6 maybe to 12 milligram. Sometimes for a direct lung setup,
you can 12. Direct lung 12. I can't direct lung 12.
There's people out there that can do it. If people that really want it.
Real man.
So, but then we have the pod systems that are actually, like Phil said, something smaller. It doesn't vaporize with enough power, and that's why we're seeing that salt nicotine come into play, where you're going to see 25, 35, 45, and even 50 milligram nicotine levels. So if you choose to use something smaller, again, my suggestion around 35 milligram nicotine salt, or even a little bit less, is good to get started for an average smoker, depending on the type of cigarettes that you smoke and how heavy you smoke. That, I think that's pretty general. That's a pretty safe range there. And listen, if you go into a vape shop, I'm going to tell you that right now as a friend, and if you go into a vape shop and they don't have 12 milligram nicotine, just leave. Don't even stay. If they don't have a 12 milligram option, then maybe that's not the right vape shop for you as well too, because you should be able to experience and enjoy everything that's on the market.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. But the other important thing to think about too, when it comes to e-liquids, is not only your nicotine strength, but the PG-VG ratio, right? When we started, just about everything was, we'll say 60-40, or even 70-30. And I'm using
higher PG. Let's just say higher PG.
Yeah, right. Higher PG, right? And I use like 70-30 because PG always came before VG when we started vaping, right? So 70-30 PG-VG. And then what happened was, as people got into the volume vaping and the sub-ohming and the more clouds, the VG levels crept up and crept up and crept up. Well, now one of the problems is, if you go to a vape shop and you have your heart set on, we'll say either a mouth-to-lung device or a smaller pod system, you have to make sure that you're not given a max VG e-liquid, because it's probably not going to work very well. Max VG is really made for the direct lung sub-ohm tanks that can wick an enormous amount of liquid very, very quickly, right? Some of these smaller devices, the smaller pods, the mouth to lung type tanks, they're not going to wick as fast as those other tanks. So you have to make sure that you match the correct e-liquid with the correct hardware. Yeah. Very, very important, or you're going to wind up having a bad experience.
I do want to remind, because I do see a lot of comments in the chat from people saying, I started at 24 and now I'm down to 3. That transition not only changed the nicotine intake, but also changed the equipment. Okay, so when you hear people making that transition, it's very important as a smoker to understand is that they're not using 3 milligram generally in the same setup that they started as well too. So it's a whole journey, and it's a whole education chapter in your vaping career that you're going to have to go through while making these transitions as well too. I think one of the biggest things, one of the biggest mistakes as an industry that we do is tout the fact that we lowered our nicotine. I think it's very important for everybody to understand, even vapers that have that rhetoric. Nicotine is not the enemy. Nicotine does not kill you in a cigarette. Nicotine is not bad. Nicotine is not the devil. So I think that rhetoric, especially the last 2-3 years that we've really kind of put out there, Not me personally, because I still vape 12 and Phil still vapes 12. Or the ratios. We really need to go back to some of the basics as well, too, especially with some of the smaller devices that are coming out. The liquids that are available on the market, by majority at this point, are not working good in pod systems, so people will not be satisfied as well, too. All right, just a little comment here. Can we rename free-base nicotine? When you rename salts, I will. Both of the names are horrible. I can't stand them. I can't stand saying them.
First of all, I love the fact that he's called 69 Camaro, because I always wanted an IROC myself. But you know, I hear you, man. You know, there's even time. Look, I hate the fact that my website is called "Can I Taste Your Juice?" Because if I were to do it today, I would never call it that, right? I don't call juice. I call it e-liquid. I don't like the term electronic cigarette. Right. But I mean, let's be honest, electronic cigarette is going to attract and something that smokers are going to be able to relate to. So I think that's kind of important. I hate the term salt when we think about like salt nicotine, right? Because all I think about is the what was the other bad salt? Bath salts, right? I think about bath salts, and I hate free-base nicotine, right? Because then you think about free-basing, and you know, so yeah, I am not happy with the terminology. I would love to come up with some different terminology. Yeah. But it's kind of what we have right now.
And, and there's no way we're going to change the market. And every time I hear salt nicotine, I get hungry. I think about food for some reason. Like, can I take the salt nicotine and put it on my lamb chops? I'm like, I don't know why.
That's funny, because every time I hear your accent, I think about Greek food too. So,
that's really funny.
That happened.
But I do want to bring that point up. And this is a very, very good comment for you smokers. Phil Lee, my nicotine intake has stayed fairly consistent. My liquid use has gone up with a change to direct lung. So that's the difference that you're going to see. Your body will tell you how much nicotine, and you're just going to vape more. So your consumption is going to go up. That's the difference between direct lung and mouth to lung. And if you enjoy the direct lung, there's people that do enjoy that style of vaping for whatever reason. This is what you like the direct lung, just expect to spend more money and, of course, consume more liquid to get that nicotine intake that you like. So,
and you know, I think that do you want to talk about more? Because I was going to say, like, you know, if you were a 12 milligram vapor, and let's say you were vaping 30 mils of liquid per week, right? Mm-hmm. And now you're a 3 milligram vapor, but you're vaping 200 mils a day or a week, a day. I know people like that. Vaping 200 mils a day. You have to think to yourself, is that really good? Right. And I think we're going to need more studies to prove whether or not that's good. You know, we all tote the 95% number, but I think as you vape different ways, that number is going to change and fluctuate. Yeah. Right. I would say reduce the exposure to e-liquid and maintain the nicotine strength. That's, you know, again, not really basing that in science, just basing it in mathematics. Reduce your exposure.
I agree. One more thing to take in consideration when we're talking about PG-VG ratio in liquid is that PG again, I put my new retainers on today, dissipates quicker than VG. VG lingers a little bit more. It's heavier, right? It's a more
dissipates. Is that the word you're looking for? Dissipates.
Right. Isn't that correct?
Dissipates. Yeah, not dissipates. Or decimates.
No, I said dissipates.
Say schnitzel.
Schnitzel. I can't. So, PG, especially if you're in an area where you want to stealth vape, works much better. Trust me, I'm a world traveler, and I know what I'm talking about. That kind of a setup and a mouth-to-lung setup is better for you to stealth if you want to be a little bit more discreet. You know, me and my wife were out to dinner a couple of days ago. She was using a little setup, just taking a couple puffs, and shoop, you know, nothing with, you know, even if a little bit came out, you just go like that with your hand, it goes away. It's beautiful. I love PG. That's going to be my new... I'm going to start a company. Have you ever heard a company called I Love VG? I'm going to start a company called I Love PG.
Love PG. That's a great idea.
That's what I'm going to do. Fig should get on that right now.
Fig.
Yes, absolutely. All right, let's move on to the next topic. We talked about cost. We talked about the nicotine levels. What's the other?
Do we want to take another break for one of our sponsors?
Give me 1 second. Let's just cover this here really
Larry,
quick.
By the way, Larry said he was going to bed a while ago, and he's still here. That's probably because I gave Larry a really hard time the last time he went to bed.
I do want to show I'm very, very excited about this, and there's somebody actually that asked the question. Barry, he's been smoke-free for 1 month, and he's been using pods, so he wants to move up to a good MTL. What would we recommend? So, of course, why wouldn't we recommend our products, which are designed for mouth-to-lung vaping? And we're very, very excited about this, right, Phil? We're very excited about the newest kit. The Chroma in the 24mm Zenith is a bigger device. And before I show this one, I do want for you to kind of explain a little bit the differences between the two and why one is set up the way that it is and why the other one is set up the way that it is, Phil.
You want me to do that?
Yes.
It's very sad that I don't even have my own product in front of me. It really is.
I had to beg to get it. Trust me. But let's talk about the chroma and why it's a little bit bigger as well too. I think it's something that a lot of smokers might ask is why choose one over the other.
Right. You know, what's really interesting is the last time I was in Rochester, I went to a party and I had this with me and I gave it to one of my friends, a female, to hold and to feel and to try. And she actually came back and see it. Like, I personally think the chroma is an ideal size. I love the size and the comfort factor of this device. She said it was too big. She said it was actually too large, which is like, it just reinforces that everything in vaping is subjective. What is perfect for you is not perfect for somebody else. And you always have to take that into consideration when you're talking to folks about vaping. But she said this was too large. So, you know, we wanted to put out a smaller package, but it was important that when we put out that smaller package, we didn't go into like the world of the pods, right? Where we're forced because of the power to go to a higher nicotine. So we wanted a smaller package, a smaller device, a smaller tank, but still the same vape quality as what you see right here. And that's why we're putting out the Coolfire Mini Zenith Mini kit. And the Zenith is now going to be a 22 millimeter. And there it is right there. Notice, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, notice the color that Dimitri has. I think it's very, very important to point out that he does have the pink/purple version. I find that very interesting.
You can't, you can't make this up because one of our wholesalers here in the United States, Kai with All Day Vapes, ADV365 is his website, got these in before me and Phil, which is a little bit, I don't know. It's cool. I mean, we have the prototypes and we saw them in China and all that, but he got him in, so I messaged him and I said, can you send me one? I want to do a little show off on Facebook and show it at the Smoker Show as well too, because I think it's a really nice small kit. And he says, what kind of color that you want? And I said, I don't know, just kind of surprise me. And of course, you know, this is what Phil does after years of just brutalizing me with the Dimitri Pink. However, if this is not your color, there you go. There's other colors as well too that you can definitely choose from different colors out there. Me personally, my favorite, the gold and the black. We should be getting them in the next couple of days. A full black, a kind of a midnight blue, a white to black, a fade, and of course the infamous by now Dimitri Pink. So Phil, I just want you to kind of walk me through this, and we'll do this pretty briefly. We actually have a bigger video of this on Facebook if you want to go see it, but kind of walk me through the kit itself.
Walk you through. Well, let's open up the kit and let's see what's in there. Okay, so we open it up. You know, it's the typical two-side. One side is the accessories, the other side is the device. So we'll open up the accessories side and we'll see what's in there. We are going to have, try to keep up with me, Dimitri. Work those fingers. You know, I can do faster with my sausage fingers than you can do with what you're doing.
By the way, do you see us here?
Yeah, no, I saw that. I saw that back there.
When we were 12 years old, remember we were playing in the field over there?
I saw that. And the other question is, why do you have a Numark DJ controller behind you? Are you trying to be a DJ now too, like me? Is that what I mean? Are you trying to emulate everything? Next thing you know, you're going to go out and buy some Skechers. So there, ladies and gentlemen, is the charge cable. This device does charge at 1 amp. You're going to find a lot of warnings. You know, this is one of the reasons why we really wanted to work with Anikin. They are very, very concerned with safety. You see a battery care guide there. There's that's the warranty card. It does have a 90-day warranty. Yep. There's the manual, and our manuals are more like quick start guides. Very, very easy to follow. Good plain English. So I think our manuals are really well done. And then you open up the other side. You're going to find that card right there. If you turn it around, all of our products, the platform products, are going to come with a little personalized thank you from me and Dimitri with our autographs. I will point out that Dimitri's autograph is far better than my autograph. We actually have a very, very funny story about those autographs that we'll tell sometime. And then the QR code on the back. Now, if you shoot that QR code with your phone, you are going to go to tutorial videos on using the tank and using the device. Tutorial videos, a little bit of troubleshooting guides, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, we really want you to buy when you're buying the platform experience, we want to come along with the tank. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to show up at your house and wash your car or do your laundry, but we don't want you to walk out of a vape shop and have all these questions not having been answered. So we want to give you those answers in those tutorial videos that you could find on the 𝗔𝗓𝗏 website or on the platform group on Facebook. Right, so there's the device itself. The device has a, it goes from, what is it, 6 watts up to 40 watts. And it has a built-in 1300 milliamp hour battery. Very, very small. One of the things that we wanted to do is we were able to increase the bright. We wanted to put a brand new screen on there, but we couldn't do it in time. So we did have the screen brightened. So it is much, much brighter than it was before. Very, very simple, very, very easy to use. And then you have the tank itself. So there is the new 22 millimeter version of the Zenith tank. So 3 main features of the Zenith tank. You know, if you're not familiar with the Zenith tank, much like the 24 millimeter, this one works the same way. Only it is a 22. It has a 2 mil capacity. Very, very simple, easy top filling. So you go ahead and twist the top. That opens up the liquid port, and you fill it up with e-liquid. And when you do that, when you rotate the top to fill it, the liquid flow automatically shuts down on the inside. So, you know, that's not something that we want to tell people that they have to do that. We don't even want them to know that that's happening, but it is happening. And especially when it comes to top fill, that's going to prevent flooding and gurgling when you go ahead and fill your e-liquid. On the bottom, you do have the airflow control ring. And we also have very, very easy coil changing on this. If you unscrew the airflow ring, you can pull the coil out just like that, and you don't have to go through a bunch of vapor towel, and you don't have to sit, you know, parts full of e-liquid all over the place. It's very, very simple, very easy, and very clean to do. Of course, you're going to want to prime your coil before you put it in there.
Hold on, I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to do it.
Yeah, go ahead and prime your coil.
We're going to do it live.
Do it live. Do it live. And
by the way, this comes with the Plexus coil.
Yeah, well, I was getting there, pal.
Oh, okay.
I was getting there. But yeah, it does come with a Plexus coil, so it does come with the 0.5 ohm Plexus. That's the one that he's probably priming right now. You know, 3 or 4 drops of e-liquid right there on the center. It's going to soak in and prime the coil. And then the other coil that it comes with is going to be the 1.6 ohm, right? And
which we recommend for salt. We recommend the 1.6 ohm for salt as well too, because it works really well.
Right. The Plexus coil, that's going to run best between 14 and 16 watts. I know some people run them at 17, but really that's all the power that they require. I found the Plexus for my sweet spot anyway to be about 16 watts. And on the 1.6, I found my sweet spot to be about 14 watts. So really, really simple, really, really easy to use. But, you know, even though it is a small package, the vape quality is outstanding on it.
That's what I hear about you too, Phil.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
So this one has a 2 mil capacity. I just filled it up with some Symmetry, 12 milligram e-liquid. Then I'm going to shut down the airflow. Excuse me, the juice control on the top. And then you're going to see here, just like classic Inikin, you're going to have a green light here every time that you fire the button. It turns yellow when it's halfway and then red when it's time to charge. One of the lovely things that we love on this, especially for new vapers, is that if the device is off, it tells you to click it 3 times. So you don't have to go back to the store and tell them that your device is broken. So 1, 2, 3, the device is going to turn on. And now you're ready to vape. You're ready to go.
You know, I heard a question about the black airflow ring. Yeah, that was actually a design decision. First of all, we think that it breaks up the tank a little bit when the tank is sitting on the device. Plus, the device has a black faceplate, so the black airflow ring kind of works with that black faceplate. I think it looks pretty good. I'm actually quite happy that we made that decision.
I am going to put it here on my big screen, just kind of show everybody the final package, and there it is. All dressed up. Yeah, I do like the fact that the black O-ring just really matches nice with this, with the, you know, the actual main part where the chip is on
the front plate or the frame, whatever you want to call it.
Yes, the frame. But there it is. Again, this is something small little stealthy device. You can hide it underneath, you know, your palm, especially, you know, I don't have really big hands, as you can see. And a lot of people are asking for a comparison. So here's the existing Chroma kit with a 24 millimeter, and here it is with right next to that. Just kind of give you a size comparison. So it's basically the little brother of the Chroma Zenith full kit. And I'm just very, very excited about it. I mean, it's just a very, very good start. I mean, I know that sounded like an infomercial a little bit, and you know, partially it is because this is our product and we're proud of it. But we just want to make sure that people understand that you do have a lot of options out there aside from the pods, right? You do have a lot of options.
And let's be honest. I mean, that kit is geared and designed to be simple, easy to use, and something that a smoker can pick up and have a really, really good experience with. Right?
Yeah.
That's what we're kind of all about.
Well, let me vape it now because I do have it set up, and that's the whole point on this plexus coil. You know, I like to start around 14 watts and then just kind of work my way up depending on the type of liquid. I know where my sweet spot is on this, but I'm just giving a little demonstration now.
I know what your sweet spot is too.
Yeah, what is my sweet spot?
I don't want to tell everybody.
Don't tell everybody. Here we go.
I almost had the silver or the silver. The golden black one. I had it the entire time I was there in China at Anakin, and then the last minute, the last day, they stole it back from me because they needed to bring it to their R&D department.
So this particular liquid, I have 3 airflow holes open. That's kind of where I like the symmetry, the airflow for it on the coil. One thing that the reason why we tout this is because it takes away, you know, you heard the gentleman that called in earlier talking about the dry hit, right? Another thing that a lot of the smokers experience is liquid in their mouth or gurgling or flooding. It's a problem that exists in vaping. So by having that little mechanism that shuts down the e-liquid inside while you're filling it, you kind of eliminate that. Because this, you know, I just filled it up now. You can hear it right next to the microphone. All you're hearing is just beautiful vaporization of e-liquid. I'm going to crank this up to my sweet spot, which is 16 watts, and I'll give you a couple more vapes.
Did you just say the beautiful vaporization of e-liquid? Did you say that?
I sure did. And it works really well. I mean, for such a small package, it works really, really well. So price, people have been asking me for price. I think MVS has it on for $49.99. But if you use MTL10, you get 10% off that. So it's $45 for the kit. Comes with 2 coils, 2 drip tips, and a lot of love from me and Phil. That's not a bad price. $45 is not a bad price. I mean, you can get a pod system for $30 today.
I know. Cat Darling. Hi, Cat Darling.
Hey, Cat. How you doing? Nice to see you. All right, let me go through some of these. Anything else that you want to touch on the D22 with the Coolfire?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Anything else that you want to touch on with this particular kit?
No, that's it. I mean, we're really excited. We have some other products heading your way, but this is the latest, and we hope people enjoy it, and we hope people support it, and most importantly, we hope people don't smoke with it.
Yes, 12 to 18 milligram on this, absolutely fine. Works great, very, very satisfying. If you do want to use salt, I do recommend the 1.6 ohm coil. In my experience, it has been better. A 20 milligram salt with a 1.6 ohm coil at very low wattage, like 11. Get you battery all day, and it works fantastic. And one more time, I'm going to show all the colors here, the beautiful colors. And yeah, that's what I had for the D22. All right, let me look at some of these questions that have been kind of piling up here. Do I want to compare it? Can I compare it to the size of a pod? I certainly can. Yes, I certainly can. Let me go to my cat. Oh, I got my little buttons here. I forgot. I was
good. You can do that. I saw another question come up. All right, go ahead and do that first.
Yeah, so here it is next to the Anakin EQ. So you can see even for the pod system, you know, it's actually pretty tiny, and that's the main thing, that you're getting a 1300 mAh battery versus, you know, around 400, 600, or even 800 in some of this. Here it is, the 𝗲𝗏 S8, another one of my favorite pods, the 𝗲𝗏 S8. So you can see that it's pretty small. And here, you know, this is a jewel type, you know, device. This is the new naked pod, but you know, it kind of gives you. It's really not that big.
Dimitri, when you're vaping the naked pod, do you ever actually vape that while you're naked?
Oh, yeah, I'm actually naked right now from the waist down.
Yeah, we didn't need to know that. Thank you very much.
I do vape it naked. Yes.
Good. That's good.
All right, let me put another question here. Let me see if.
Let me answer a question that I saw a while ago. Yes. Somebody was asking about like what I recommended for devices that do temperature control, like what I think does good temperature control. I mean, you can't go wrong with a DNA device, right? I mean, DNA evolved, pretty much created temperature control. They kind of invented the thing. They put it out there on the market. So they are obviously going to make very, very good temperature control devices. Another company that I would recommend is a board or a device with a decodes board in it. If you take a look at what review did I just do? The Typhoon box. Okay, I think 𝗘-𝗟𝗓𝗏 has probably one of the finest temperature control signals out there. Extremely accurate, extremely smooth. Just an excellent temperature control experience. Joytech makes some good temperature control stuff. I don't think it's the same level as the DNA or the 𝗘-𝗟𝗏s, but it certainly does good temperature control. And I happen to quite like the temperature control on the 𝗘𝗓𝗏 Proton. And one of the reasons why, especially on those three devices, a lot of temperature control is so dependent on the accuracy of the resistance read, right? And a lot of devices, they're going to read that resistance as soon as you make contact, as soon as you screw down your atomizer and it makes contact and it says, okay, that's the resistance, right? But the difference between that initial contact point and when it's screwed all the way down could really be two different resistances. So if you notice, with the 𝗘-𝗟𝗏s board, with the DNA boards, and even with the Proton, when you go into temperature control, that is when they read the resistance, once that atomizer is fully seated on the device. Now, other devices can do that too, other devices that will allow you to reread the resistance. But I noticed with those three devices, I really feel that like they're doing things right, and I think you're going to have a good temperature control experience. So I would definitely say on the top of my list, DNA devices and the 𝗘-𝗟𝗏s boards.
Question from the chat. This is coming from Mike Vapes. How do you guys stay so sexy?
Oh, it's not easy, man.
It really is.
There he is. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
What's up, my brother?
Nice to see you. We made another device for your wife. So
Absolutely.
That's what we do. We design devices for reviewers' wives. That's my new slogan. That's my new slogan.
You should send Mike that one, the one that you're using right there, and just Mike, just take the drip tip, put it in some bleach and some boiling water. It'll be fine. She can use it after that.
She already has Greek DNA in her anyway, so it won't be much of a difference.
Oh my God! Hey, really loved the photo of Fagin too. That was fantastic.
Was really good. That was really good.
Very,
all right, let me go through. We have a few more questions here. Do salts taste different? That's a very, very good question. I think in some cases it might enhance the flavor, and some it might detriment. I think it's all how the chemical, reaction happens. To me personally, I'll be honest with you, I don't see much of a difference. I don't see some people. Again, that's personal preference and basically how it comes in your mouth. The taste, I mean, seriously, I don't see a huge difference between salt nicotine and regular nicotine. The difference that you're going to see is between a direct lung or a mouth to lung. There's where the difference is going to come on the flavor, right? And we're seeing some salt nicotines come into the market with very low milligram. We're seeing a 6 milligram nicotine salt, which I don't know why, but we're seeing it come on the market. There you might see a little bit of a difference because there's so much heat to sub-ohm that you might be able. But on a mouth to lung setup, I don't think you're going to see much of a difference.
There's an interesting question here. Somebody had a question about a flooded tank. They have flooded tank in parentheses, so or in quotes. So I'm assuming they don't know what a flooded tank means.
I love that question. Yeah.
So yeah, back when vaping first started, but in the earlier days, right? A lot of the tanks were bottom fill. Okay, so you would hold them upside down, you would unscrew the bottom, you would fill them up, you would screw the bottom back on, which typically contained your coil, and then you turn them back over, okay? Unfortunately, when you're doing that, you do have to take your tank off device, and it's more steps in the process of filling. And filling is that thing that you have to do all day long, typically, you know what I mean? So you really want to make filling as easy as possible. So then we came to top fill designs. The problem with top fill is that when you open the top, you're kind of releasing pressure. And what could potentially happen when you release that pressure is the e-liquid kind of pushes its way down, especially when you're filling. It pushes down and it pushes into the coil. Okay. Now, when that happens and you screw your top cap back on or whatever method you're using, you take the first couple puffs and you'll notice like a gurgling sound, or you might get some e-liquid in your mouth, because what happened is the coil flooded. Okay. It liquid got into that coil through the process of filling it up. So one of the ways that you can avoid, having that happen on top fill designs is closing the liquid flow first before you open it up and expose it to air, and you release the pressure. So like on a design like the 𝗘-𝗟𝗏, you have to manually shut down the liquid flow first, and then you can open up the top and you can fill it. You can close the top, you can open up the liquid flow, and then you can use it, and you will probably not have any gurgling or flooding. The idea behind the Zenith is, well, we're going to do that for you, okay? We're going to close the liquid flow automatically so that no liquid gets into the coil and you don't get that flooding or gurgling. You know, and it's happened with a lot of top fill designs that I've reviewed, that I've tried. And, you know, I always do one of two things. Either I'll vape through it and, you know, maybe the gurgling will work its way out. The other thing that you could do is you can hold your tank upside down, cover your airflow with some paper towel, and blow up into the tank. That's going to clear out the chamber, okay, and get rid of that gurgling. And the last thing you could do is the power of Christ compels you. You can do that, and it's gonna, you know, it's gonna shoot. Of course, you don't want to do that inside because you're gonna get e-liquid all over the place. But you know,
the exorcism swing.
Yes.
So there we go. And if your tank is gurgling and popping, that means that it's feeding liquid very, very quick. So you would benefit from a liquid flow control. Also, just a couple of things. Marshall Keith converted a couple of friends with his stealth vape with a Vapor S1 Nexus. Congratulations, Marshall. Sometimes
Terrific.
if you just let somebody try it, you see what happens. They really enjoy it. I do want to mention one more thing. There is a gentleman in the chat, Seven Smith. He is near Shenzhen on business. Hard to find vapor products. I want to tell you right now, if you go to the 𝗘-𝗟𝗓 Hotel, there is a vape shop in the lobby. If you go to the 𝗘-𝗟𝗓 Hotel, it's right there in the center of Shenzhen. Just take an Uber or take a cab to take you over there. There's a vape shop inside the 𝗘-𝗟𝗓 Hotel. You're going to find a lot of stuff there. Really, really nice vape shop.
And when you're there, tell Henry I said hello.
Yes, yeah, if Henry's there. Let me see. I had another question as well too. What does nicotine salt consist of? Again, this is just a general. Generally, some chemicals are added to regular nicotine, like benzoic acid, and what that does is that it allows you to get a higher concentrate of nicotine with not so much of a throat hit or the harshness that a higher milligram strength would bring out. Okay, that's generally, in general terms, what the nicotine salt is. It's a nicotine that allows you to deliver to your body a higher nicotine level without having the harshness in your throat. And obviously, vape less when you're vaping with nicotine salts because your body is really absorbing nicotine faster in a different way. Okay, with everything that is added there.
To the junk man, very, very interesting there. Junk man called me Father Phil, LOL. Father Phil was the guy. I actually had a Father Phil. Why you got to play music over my little talk here? Father Phil was the priest that came to the house in New Jersey and blessed the house when we moved in. So I thought that was funny. But somebody else here, Carbine maybe, said the 𝗘𝗩𝗘 website is under construction. I did a little bit of research into that.
Yeah.
What I found out was Dave, the owner of ProVape, sold the ProVape website like years ago. So from what I understand, this new company that is opening up the website again has nothing to do with ProVape and 𝗘𝗩𝗘. I can't really confirm that, but that's what I know. And I hope the quality of their products and their website is better than how they spelt, I think, beautiful on the website, because it's completely wrong.
Barry says that the price point is too high. Well, that's unfortunate because now we're going to play a commercial. I'm sorry. Sorry. It is what it is. And I do want to say a special welcome to Battery Mooch. If you have not subscribed, just click on his name and subscribe to his channel. A lot of great information, especially for smokers converting to vaping, on battery safety, which is very, very important to you. All right, the phone lines are open, 215-383-5752. If you have any questions or comments, call in before we get into our last topic. Go ahead.
Yes, and Battery Mooch will also very colorfully tell you if a battery is no good. I love the way he... By the way, This is how not to make nicotine solids. You know, just like show you how not.
Don't do that.
You don't do that. Okay?
Don't do that. Don't do that. All right. Let me. Oh, I got to bring up my questions again. I got them kind of here on the background. There's a question. I've been using Kanthal wire only since forever. Is temperature control something I should get into, and where should I start? Great question. For me personally, I've been using Nichrome at the beginning and then Kanthal all these years, and I have not switched because now at this point, even with Kanthal, I don't really need temperature control. I know just simply by the taste and the feel if something needs to be adjusted, if I'm getting a burning spot or if I'm getting dry, or so, I can just tell by experience. So I don't have the need for temperature control. Most of the tanks are clear now. You can see your liquid and so forth and so forth. The venturing into temperature control from a hobby perspective, maybe, yeah, sure. I mean, Phil has a lot of videos, probably the most videos on temperature control on his YouTube channel, if you want to get into something like that. But in my opinion, if you're happy with what you're, and this is a big problem when you're venturing into vaping from smoking, is we see a lot of stuff on social media. There's a constant marketing and push of new products, and automatically you assume that, hey, I gotta have that. This is a new thing. If you've quit smoking, vaping has worked for you. You don't need that next thing, to keep you up. Unless it's something that you desire to purchase, just to experiment and try out. That's just my opinion on temperature control.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you my thoughts on temperature control. Do I use it? Yeah, absolutely, I do. Do I use it all the time? No, I don't. There are three things that I really like about temperature control. Number one, I hate dry hits, okay? So even though, yes, you can see your e-liquid, sometimes you're just preoccupied and you're just vaping away, and before you know it, you're at the end of the tank and you take that drag and you're like, damn, that was a dry hit and it was nasty, and like now everything tastes burnt and I don't like it anymore. So I have to change my cotton or change my coil. So, it eliminates that. That's number one. Also, dry hits also equate to formaldehyde and bad things happening to what you're taking into your lungs, right? So it eliminates that. The other thing, too, is ramp-up time, right? If you have it set up correctly, you get really, really instant ramp-up time on your coil, right? But you don't overshoot the temperature, because you can get very, very fast ramp up time by boosting your wattage. The problem is, along with getting that ramp up time, it continues to ramp up. Okay, it doesn't stop. With temperature control, you get a very, very fast ramp up time, but then it stops. Okay, and it levels off at your set temperature. The last thing that I really like about temperature control is if I'm changing e-liquid. Okay, because what I can do is I can vape the cotton virtually dry. All right, I can vape the cotton virtually dry and change flavors, and I have much less flavor creep from one flavor to another. Okay, if I'm using the temperature control technology. So those, for me, are the biggest reasons why I personally like temperature control. And it is something that we will take on in a future show. I promise you guys.
Certainly, weird. I did see a comment in the chat. Somebody should make an electronic cigarette like back in the day with a 𝗘-𝗟𝗏 having nic salts. Guess what? Our sponsor already has that on the market. The pre-filled Naked 100 with 50 milligram nicotine salt with a pre-filled 𝗘-𝗏. These are disposable. You use them and you throw it away. You get 3 in a pack. They're around $20. So there you go. There's a solution for everything. Everything's on the market today. Anything that you can desire in vaping, you can certainly find it today. Another question. Can you use nicotine salt in a really restricted MTL RTA? Yes, absolutely you can. Absolutely you can. You can build an RTA, put your nicotine salt inside, and just take, puffs depending on how your body is reacting and how you have to most likely change your pattern of vaping, of how often you're going to vape, and depending on how your body is going to react on that. Yeah, go ahead.
Here's a question from Red X. I just love this question. What are your guys' thoughts on the Lost Vape pod system, the Orion? And do you think replay is worth it on a pod system?
Let me combine that, because there's another question here that's in my queue that says, what do you guys think of, let me just make sure I bring this up. What are your thoughts on your new Evolve DNA Go board for pod system? So I'll combine that as well too. So that, because that question came earlier from Rob Carter and I was going to get to it. Go ahead.
Right. Well, without making this sound like too much drama,
that's impossible in vaping.
What's that?
That's impossible in vaping.
Yeah, no, I know. Red X, with all of the support that I've given, Evolve and DNA over these years, all the times that I've had Mr. Brandon sitting right here next to me, introducing his new products. I do not have an Orion pod system. I do not know anything about the Go board. So unfortunately, it's not something that I can really talk about. Hopefully I will get one from somebody eventually, or just go and buy one if I need to.
Sure.
And talk to you more about it. I do like replay. Okay. There are some things that I like about replay. There are some things that I don't like about replay, but I think what replay does is it really puts temperature control in the hands of somebody who doesn't really want to mess with temperature control, if that makes any sense. Okay. Because what it does is it replays your last puff. It recreates your last puff, but it also brings temperature control into play because you wind up not getting any dry hits. Okay. So, maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. I'm sure Dimitri has a couple more comments on that.
Yeah, I mean, my comment is that I'm sure that, listen, there's no denying the Evolve technology is great. It's one of my favorite chipsets to use as well, too. But when the Orion DNA with a couple pods costs $100, who are we targeting here? This has always been my problem. It's great technology. Put it in a price point that people can afford. Somebody said earlier that the Chroma was expensive at $44. I mean, seriously, here we're talking about a pod system at $100. You're not going to get a smoker to try this, okay? And that's my biggest problem. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why we got shunned from getting samples, because obviously we're going to say the truth. And the truth is that if this was designed for smokers, because you're taking a technology that's great for somebody that's starting to vape, it has to be matched and be put into the market, into a price point that is affordable. If I tell a smoker to go spend $100 on a pod system, they're going to look at me like I'm crazy. And that is the biggest issue that I have with it. I hope that as the technology progresses, we're able to take it, put it in a smaller factor, and make it more affordable and more available to the masses that are trying. Because I love technology advancing to help smokers. Unfortunately, that product is not going to make it into smokers' hands. It's going to be where? It's going to be pushed here in the vaping industry and all the YouTube channels that you see out there and all the YouTube shows, and all the vapors are going to see it and all the vapors are going to buy it. But the people that really need that technology is not me or Phil. Who needs that technology? Those that are coming into this industry. And unfortunately, we're not going to get it. All right, let me get a couple more questions here. I got so much stuff. I got one more thing to talk about. 215-383-5752. The phone lines are brought to us kindly by the Vaping Advocate magazine. By the way, the next Vaping Advocate magazine might have a little story about me and Phil, so check that out as well, too. What are your favorite flavors to vape on? That is such a subjective question. You know, I like blondes. Phil likes brunette. Well, Phil likes all of them. But, I mean, it's just a very, very subjective question. The best thing that you can do is go to a vape shop and try flavors out. That's why they have these flavor bars at a vape shop. That's the only way. If I tell you that I love, and Phil's tried my liquid. This is one thing that me and Phil, we pretty much match on everything in life, except our liquid taste. So my liquid, right, which is a very strong menthol.
In shoes.
And shoes. Well, and yeah. Shoes. Well, you haven't been wearing Skechers lately because I know it's bugged you. I see you with the Nikes all the time. But I vape a very strong eucalyptus menthol mint 𝗘-𝗟𝗓 mix, right? It's very, very powerful. Phil, he likes strawberry malt, or he likes Delaware peach tea. We're just completely different. So try some flavors out and see what you're gonna go. What are the pros and cons of each type of a wire, stainless steel, counter? That's a very, very big question that we will get into in a future show. I promise you. For the pros and cons of the different type of wires that are out there. I do want to get into this last subject because as a smoker looking out from the outside into this industry, into this community, into vaping, you might be a little bit hesitant to try vaping simply because we have given maybe the wrong, I think bad is the right word. I think the wrong perception of what vaping is all about. And sometimes you'll see it vaping and you're going to see this here. And the reason why I bring this up, just random stuff I picked up from Google. But it is 𝗘𝗏𝗏 there in the mirror. I actually, when he was like, what, 12? No, I'm just kidding. When he was young, in his younger days. But you'll see vaping and you're going to see this. And that might be intimidated for a smoker. Or you're going to see this. That might be intimidated for a smoker. Or if you see, a bunch of people blowing a cloud out there, that might be intimidating for a smoker. Or if you have a lot of Facebook friends that vape, this might be their profile picture. This happens a lot as well too, right? Or a lot of the marketing that goes with vaping as well too. I mean, you see a lot of these images that are kind of geared towards, promoting and marketing the products that are out there to the advanced vapors. Keep in mind just a couple of things, right? And then Phil, I'll let you jump in. Number one, no matter what you see in those pictures or what your perception of vaping is, these people are not smoking. right? What you see coming out of their mouth is not smoke. And that's the most important thing that we as vapors should be trying to educate smokers and the public as well, too. Because I think that that bad public perception is deterring a lot of the smokers to come out.
Yeah. I mean, it's something I wrote on Taste Your Juice a long time ago. And I think if you look up an article that's titled "These People" or something like that, you'll see the article that I wrote. You know, it is embarrassing in some cases. It doesn't look good in a lot of cases. I think it scares a lot of smokers away. You know, but it's also, you know, a matter of being tolerant about, you know, people's looks and the way they present themselves, because I don't care about looks, and I don't care about, you know, how you dress and you know, how many ear gauges or tattoos. See, I don't care about any of that stuff. People are people, and I think they should be treated as such, right? And I would never treat anybody differently because of their physical appearance, you know. And I think it's important because what I wrote in that article is that, you know, it's very important to have that side of vaping. You know, it's important to have, you know, cloud competitions. I hate to say that, but, you know, have tricks, because what it does is it keeps the people who were potentially going to be smokers excited and engaged in vaping. Okay. And it's important to realize that no matter how they look, they are not smoking cigarettes. Okay. And hopefully they're you know, hopefully they're doing it respectfully. Hopefully they're doing it safely, more important, right? But it's important to remember that they're not smoking, okay? But I also think it's important to have balance in vaping, and I think that's one of the things that we're lacking a little bit is and I know Dimitri has a few more photos here to show you. These are the photos that we don't see enough of.
Yes, this is the people that you don't see on social media, unfortunately, as smokers. This is Choo Granny on the right, 72 years old. She smoked for 55 years. Now she's been a vapor for the last 4 years. She's a local to me here. Just a wonderful person, a big proponent of electronic cigarettes. Unfortunately, you're never going to see Choo Granny on Instagram promoting anybody's liquid, unfortunately, because I wish that we could possibly do that, right? And another gentleman in the middle that is vaping as well too. There are people out there that are vaping that unfortunately you just don't get to see. Just don't think that you're by yourself. You know, look at this young lady right here. You know, she's actually, you know, vaping and blowing a little cloud out. Here's another one on the boat, you know, with a little ego in hand. Here's another little young gentleman right here. I call them all young gentlemen, vaping away. This is the face of vaping. Of course, you know, here's another gentleman that vapes as well, too. He's, you know, it's again. Oh, you asshole. I didn't know that was coming. There is a prestige in vaping as well too. So just sorry, that was really good. I got you off guard. But again, the point that I'm trying to make is that when you're looking out as a smoker, don't always let your perception skew you away from a healthier alternative, because there's all walks and shapes and sizes of people that have discovered vaping and have quit smoking. But sometimes, well, most of the time, you only see one portion of this community. That's all you see, because it's the loudest, it's the proudest. The social media has enhanced that as well too, and the marketing and the hype of these products has enhanced that as well too. So don't let that discourage you.
Yeah, don't let, you know, some of those photos that you saw discourage you. Don't you know, at times in social media, at times in mainstream media, in a lot of vape publications, you know, you only tend to see one side of it, and you always have to remember that vaping, we all have lungs. Doesn't matter your age, doesn't matter how many tattoos you have, doesn't matter your gauge, it doesn't matter. None of that matters. We all have lungs, and if we smoke, we can be helped by this technology. Okay, and don't let, if you have a bad perception of vaping, if you say, oh, look, I don't want to look like those people, understand that, number one, those are some really good people, number one, but number two, you don't have to look like that. Okay, vaping covers everybody, all ages, all walks of life. It doesn't matter. We all have lungs. We could all be helped by this technology.
Absolutely. Very well said. That's what I wanted to say about the public perception of vaping. Don't let it fog your decision to switch to vaping. Yeah. Nice. Thank you very much. I'll be here all week. All right, so let's see if we got any more questions. The phone lines are open for another 5 minutes if you want to call in, 215-383-5752. I love everybody putting their age in the chat. That is fantastic.
I think that's terrific. Because here, hold on. Let me put my age in the chat. Hold on. There we go. All right.
74 here, and I feel 50. And the more that you vape, you're going to feel even younger than that. Listen.
I have philosophies on that. First of all, I always say that, I'm not getting older, I'm getting better. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Age is just a number, and that number changes. Your body might say one thing, but what's in your head is more important. Right. And it's good. It's good that, I think that we're all as a community, with my reviews, with Facebook, with social media, with my friend Dimitri here, with the show that we're doing right now, is that we're all maturing and we're all kind of getting older together. Right. Because even you young folks, you're going to be old someday, too. Right. And it's good that we have this community here to kind of like talk to each other and support each other and help people get off of traditional tobacco cigarettes. I think it's a really, really good thing, and I'm very, very happy to be a part of it.
Absolutely. And listen, don't be intimidated. We are here for you. Facebook.com/VapingGreek, Facebook.com/𝗵𝗓𝗄𝗧𝗏. Reach out to us with any questions that you have. I know it can be intimidating sometimes to type in a chat that's full of advanced vapors. You might feel like you're a little overwhelmed or embarrassed, but we're always here to answer your questions. So
please don't be. Please don't be.
Very, very well done. That's what I had. We got it all in time. Amazing. Amazing.
We have 5 minutes to go. So if you have any more questions, we would love to take your phone calls. We would love to get your questions. Dimitri, I think it's really good, because there's a lot of different styles of reviewers and a lot of different personalities out there in vaping. And I think it's good that there's a lot of different personalities and styles, right?
Yeah.
Because, maybe, somebody who Rip Trippers appeals to is not somebody who I appeal to or who you appeal to, right? So, I mean, it's good to find that person that appeals to you, maybe vapes the same way you do, maybe has some of the same kind of ideas that you do. And it's good because, look, as we get older, we're going to appeal to a different demographic, right? And I think it's good that we do appeal to that demographic, because there's other people that appeal to different demographics.
There's a lot of people in the chat over 60 today, and we should have billboards that say 60 plus. Vapers love flavors as well too. Yeah, we got a phone call. Let's go ahead and bring it up. This is a very, very long number. I think it's international again, ending in 271. Hello, what is your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Edward. I'm calling from China, Seven Smith.
Hey, Edward. What's coming from China? Oh, my God. Wow. What's going on? How's it going? You having fun?
No one was calling. I've been trying to get through, so I just wanted to call you guys and say thank you. And, yeah, I had a bunch of questions, but one of the things I wanted to say is I've been smoke-free for only about a month.
Congratulations.
And I wanted to know, what is the best system that I could go on?
90 seconds.
I've been using a pod. Well, I don't know what to call a pod. The 𝗵𝗡𝗡𝗙.
Yeah.
And I want to move up to like a mod, from mouth to lung. And I just want to get some recommendations on that.
Sure. Okay. And ignore the British lady, even if you're here in the background, and just stick on the line. By the way, are you in China for vape business or just your regular business?
No, I live here. I live here for 10
years. Really?
I'm
okay.
a university teacher.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay.
60 seconds.
All right, ignore the lady. Obviously,
No, you said it was business, but yeah.
Okay, that's okay. So, Phil, recommendations for our friend Edward, all the way in China. By the way, this is the first time I've ever done a vape show that I got a phone call from China, Phil. I just want to put that out there.
That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool.
Go ahead.
Chroma kit, of course.
Yeah, of course. The Chroma kit, the Chroma kit that me and Phil have designed, 2,000 milliamp, built-in battery inside, easy replaceable coil, doesn't flood, doesn't gurgle, top feel. I mean, for $50, you can't go wrong. I think it's one of the best, and that's the reason why we designed it, for people that are stepping up from a pod, wanting to go into something that's more satisfying, lasts longer. That's very, very good, too. The Nautilus tank has been around for 4 or 5 years. That's about another really good tank. The only drawback on that, on the older ones, you have to fill it from the bottom.
10 seconds.
On the top one, sometimes when you open it up, it gurgles, right? So the Nautilus 2 is another really good MTL option as well, too. Phil?
Yeah, the Nautilus 2 is fantastic.
Okay.
The Aspire Breeze 2 is really good. A lot of the simpler products from Joytech are good. I mean, there's so much to choose from. I mean, if you want very, very simple, you think about an Anakin T18. That's going to be a very, very simple device. But we obviously recommend the 𝗘𝗟𝗏 because we have a lot of experience with that. Not only do we have a lot of experience, I got a lot of use on this thing. I mean, this thing goes with me everywhere, and it just continues to work. And that's one of the things that I really like about it, right?
Yeah. Yep.
My thing was, I had, like I said, I teach English here, right, for 10 years. And these people are so very, shy and timid about things. And when they saw me smoking, I would have students come up to me and, oh, why are you smoking? Oh, it's, bad for your health, da-da-da-da-da-da. So a real motivation for me was to kind of help them. Because a lot of the boys smoke cigarettes.
Yeah, it's China. Everybody smokes,
so
man.
I kind of like want to. Tons of. If you're a man, you smoke. If almost every man smokes.
It's a statue, right?
So I've been wanting to try to figure out a way for myself to kind of spread the word and get vaping going here.
Yeah.
Right, because I'm only able to use a VPN to watch you guys. This is the first time I've ever been able to get on any show. So I just wanted to pass that along and
thanks,
say
buddy.
Thank you. And I'll go back and watch the show.
Hey, Edward, when we were there in July, but next time we come to China, because we come to Shenzhen twice a year, we should meet up and go for a nice Chinese dinner. Absolutely, yes.
That sounds awesome. That sounds awesome. I'd love to show you guys around.
Sure.
We'd really appreciate that. And I know you teach English there, but maybe you could teach some Chinese to us.
Yeah, maybe you can help us with our Chinese too.
没问题，没问题。我说中文，没问题。No problem. No
All
problem.
right,
I'd
thanks,
love to do
man.
that.
Thanks, brother. Have a good night and keep away from those cigarettes. Thank you.
Okay. Take care.
What's really interesting there is what he said is how prevalent smoking is in China, right? Even though they're kind of a health conscious society, smoking is so part of the culture there. And it's amazing that vaping has taken off in so many other places much better than it has in China, even though everything is made right there.
Yeah.
But I think, the problems are, number one, how part of society smoking is there, how part of tradition smoking is there, and also how cheap smoking is there, right? I mean,
and also, the government there as well too. This is for a smoke-free radio. So, but China Tobacco is, government owned. It's the biggest, company in China, and they make cigarettes, and they want to continue to sell cigarettes. I mean, it's simply an economics game, my friend. That's all it boils down to. Of course, it is money.
And to Marshall Keith, no, they do not itch after shaving.
All right, programming note one more time. Let me bring this up over here. Where are we going to be this Saturday, Phil? Really, really excited.
So excited about this. Can't wait. Please don't miss it if you have the opportunity. Larry, if you're not there, I'm going to be very upset with you. The meet and greet at Naples Vapor. It's 2118 Del Prado Boulevard, South Cape Coral. Dimitri, finally, he's going to come and hang out at the house for a little while. And I am going to take him and I'm going to drag him to Naples Vapor for this meet and greet. We're so excited about it. Door prizes, giveaways. Naples Vapor is giving away a flat screen TV. We are going to benefit the FSFA. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. And if you guys have ever been around me and Dimitri, you will know there will also be a lot of ball busting going on.
No doubt.
Now, for the next flyer, I'm going to go ahead and let Dimitri handle that because I see a lot of alien letters on there.
So after Florida, we are taking off to go to Athens, Greece. We will be attending Vape Expo, which is September the 8th and 9th. And in between there, we have various appearances at vape shops, starting with Vapor Mania, Vape Experts, Vape Store, 𝗘-𝗟𝗏𝗏, and Dr. Anti-Smoke. We have somewhere to be every night. Of course, this is sponsored kindly by Anakin and, of course, our liquid line, Bromance. So we're very, very excited to go back to Greece and see all the vapors there, and we're going to have a lot of fun. And you get to meet 𝗘𝗏𝗏𝗏. 𝗘𝗏𝗏𝗏 is a very, very secretive club, Phil.
Yeah, I heard about this.
It's a hashtag 𝗘𝗏𝗏𝗏. And there's an initiation for you to get in. They don't allow anybody, even for me.
What kind of initiation are we talking about?
I cannot say that publicly, but You be safe. Don't worry. You're gonna be fine.
Should I bring Dimitri jerk juice with me? Or
no, you won't need it. You don't need it.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
All right. Once again, I want to thank all of our sponsors: Inikin, Joytech, 5 Ponds, and our newest sponsors, Naked 100. We're always going to focus on sponsors here that offer high nicotine levels and also that focus on starter kits and stuff for smokers. And MVS, My Vapor Store, our newest sponsor, MTL10. You save 10% on your order for all the products that me and Phil designed. We're very, very excited about it. Thanks so much for coming on board. The vaping advocate for our telephone lines. We got a phone call from China today. I'm still in shock.
How cool is that?
That was really, really cool. So hopefully we get to meet Edward one time when we go to China.
That'd be awesome.
But most importantly, if you like this video, give us a little like, share it with a smoker that is in your life. If you don't want to go through and explain to them about what vaping is, that's what we're here to do. And hopefully we'll be able to change lives. And Phil, with that, I will turn over the last word to you.
Well, you know, my apologies to everybody, because I mean, you're getting a little idea of what our schedule is about to look like. We have the Dimitris coming over the house. We're going to hang out for a little while. We're going to go to Naples Vapor. We're going to turn around and go to Greece. We're going to come back. We're going to turn around and go to Midwest Vapor Expo. We're going to turn around. We're going to go to Paris. We're going to turn around. I think we might go to the UK and then Las Vegas. So my apologies to you guys is to not being able to give you the amount of content that I was once able to provide you with the reviews. I am still absolutely going to do the reviews, but it has become much more of a challenge for me to put out that kind of a content or that kind of content. And to be honest with you, I am actually much more interested in doing shows and doing things like this, where we are trying to attract smokers and get more smokers involved with vaping. And I'm not sure that the reviews actually do that. I think the reviews talk more to vapers. Hopefully this show talks more to smokers. And this is more of what I want to do. I hope that does make sense. But the reviews are still coming. Just go easy on me if they don't come as quick and as fast as they used to.
Oh, I think that
I feel bad.
I think that the work that you're doing here is just as, if not more, valuable. And with that, thank you for watching the Smoker Show. We hopefully will be back in a couple of weeks after our trip to Greece, and we might shoot some really good content down in Florida and in Greece as well too for you guys to watch. So we certainly appreciate it. We'll see you next time.
Yeah. Keep an eye on social media, because I have a feeling the Florida trip is going to be fun.